And we're live! Hi, my name is Sophia Botha, and welcome to the latest edition of Botha Rants, where we go through all the latest LGBTQ and political news at a canter, and all the stories which are of interest to me, and hopefully interest you as well. Today I am joined, sort of, by Ozma. She's just busy getting something out of the oven. And she can only join us for the first part of the show. She's got a... Well, we'll explain when she gets back.
I've arrived.
She's arrived. Well, for part of the show. She's got to jet off and play with the space laser later.
Well, I mean, the show might be over by the time I have to shut off. I was just warning you ahead of time that I might need to shut off.
Yeah, well, you know, the space laser needs maintenance, doesn't it? So you know.
Yeah, I mean, the space laser needs occasional updates to. Well, I say updates like I'm dealing with technological stuff.
Well, it's
rearranged furniture.
It's a space laser which protects the Jewish race. Jews in space, protecting the Hebrew race.
I mean, food or sales.
For those who don't understand the joke, will probably think, Christ, you're rampantly anti-Semitic. Go and check out what go and check out one of our earlier shows about Marjorie Taylor Greene and her conspiracy theory about the secret space laser, which both had me and Ozma in hysterics because we're both Jewish and we found it very funny.
Yeah,
you know,
like
very anti-Semitic as well. But you can't help laughing at the absurdity of some anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. Anyways, this is Ozma.
Hello.
With wearing her lovely meat suit, which George Soros, praise be upon him, provided her new one last November with titties. And she's going to do amazing things in the world now. Basically, give her a follow on Twitter. You can find the links to her website and her YouTube channels there. Anyways, on with the show. Hold on, I got that the wrong way round. Oh no, yes, I did get it the wrong way fucking round. Oh, for fuck's sake. Okay, yes. What the... Yeah, anyways, today is International Women's Day, and yes, trans women are women. We're both, you know, cis and trans women are both subjected to you know, the oppression of the male patriarchy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, men are just as likely to be sexist and misogynistic towards trans women as they are to cis women.
Yeah.
Here's my message for this particular International Women's Day. Cis and trans women ought to stand together in smashing the patriarchy as it oppresses the liberty of all women. Yeah, it does. Both trans and cis women. And I love that gift. I love that gift for a number of reasons, including that it was when watching The New Adventures of Wonder Woman, which that's lifted from, starring the lovely Linda Carter, I discovered I was trans. Yes, that's how I discovered I was trans when watching that.
You and Christy, not Christy Winters, the other Christy, have a connection to Wonder Woman.
Well, yeah, I remember when I first saw it when I was like 4, and I saw Linda Carter twirl twirl into Wonder Woman. I tried that the next day, and I was very disappointed I didn't turn into a woman. You know, you just instinctively know, you do, you know, many trans people, women do, that there is something not quite right with your body, you know. and that was my awakening. Um,
Yeah.
I reiterate, trans women are women. We are just as likely to be oppressed and persecuted by the patriarchal establishment. We are. I mean, we are. We are. The trans women definitely are being oppressed and persecuted, right now. And this ought to be remembered. I mean, let's be honest. The vast majority of feminists do support trans women. It's only a small vocal minority of TERFs, and we'll get onto that subject later, who go around saying trans women aren't women, but they happen to have the ear of conservative politicians, because conservative politicians always want to other various minorities to blame society's ills on those minorities, when in fact it's capitalism which is fucking everything up for people.
I mean, that's a large part of it, but yeah. I still prefer farts. Feminist appropriating radical transphobes.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, that's one that's been going around because like it's also more accurate, because most of the time they're fighting for the patriarchy.
Well, the weird thing about TERFs, right, is that first of all they'll say trans women don't look like women, okay, and then when trans women are very feminine, they'll say they're reinforcing feminine stereotypes.
Yeah.
In other words, they will always try and move the goalposts. Anyways, this is some of the stuff which that women, the kind of abuse women face around the globe. Domestic abuse, particularly in this country, has gone up because of the COVID-19 lockdown. In that, a lot of women have had to stay with abusive partners due to the lockdown restrictions, which is terrible. Sexual and violent, sexual, and then let's remember, trans women can also be victims of domestic abuse. It's not just cis women.
Yeah, I knew a friend who almost got raped.
Yeah, sexual violence and rape. Yep, trans women can, post-op trans women, even pre-op trans women can be raped. So I don't think
some trans women even get raped by cis women.
I've not heard that. I've not heard any cases of that myself, but I'm not saying it.
Oh, I do. It was in a woman's bathroom. Two cis women raped a trans woman. Fuck, I can't remember the state.
Yeah, I mean that's the other one that TERFs say that trans women are men who want to gain entry to women's only spaces to sexually assault cis women. When in fact, actually, it's more likely, and it's not more likely that cis women will actually assault trans women for using women-only spaces. Trafficking of women, that and actually it explains the reason why it lower down. Female genital mutilation. Yeah. I'd also point out, of course, that transphobes try to make out that, and Graham Lyman, particularly, so he compared children undergoing puberty blockers as to the experiments of Dr. Mengele in Auschwitz, which is both transphobic and anti-Semitic. The thing is, and you're hearing a lot at the moment from conservatives about how trans kids are being brainwashed into mutilating their genitals. This is bollocks, utterly, because you can't have any confirmation surgery until you're in this country until you're 16. And I would imagine that's the case in most places in the Western world, at least. So
that sounds about right, probably.
However, when we talk about genital mutilation, yes, this goes on, and it shouldn't. Okay, it's wrong. Yeah. In intimidation and harassment at work, in education, in public. Yeah, well, this happens to both cis and trans women. You know, we know what's happened with cis women. You know, you just think of repugnant individuals like Sargon of Akkad.
Oh God. Yeah.
You know, basically whipping up hate towards various female academics for calling out, misogyny.
And Sargon is very.
Yeah, I know. He has now started on trans women as well. It's absolutely repugnant, and it doesn't just happen like in a really obvious way. It can be really subtle sometimes, and there's a lot of dog whistling going on. Obviously, trans women, are regularly harassed in work, and are regularly harassed in education establishments as well. And I'm not just talking about Caitlin Bennett here harassing various people, though she is an odiously bigoted piece of shit. So, to talk about trafficking of women, well, forced prostitution. That's one reason that there is the trafficking of women. I'd also say that a lot of trans women are forced into prostitution to pay for gender reassignment treatment.
Well, it's a mixture of that and also the fact that jobs, depending on where you are, jobs can just refuse to hire trans people.
Yes, that is a good point. Forced marriage. Yeah, this one is. Well, there's obviously in some sections of society, arranged marriages are still a thing. They shouldn't be. Can I just say? And forced marriage is technically illegal now in Britain. It's actually one of the few things I think the David Cameron Tory government did, which I agreed with. No woman should be forced into any marriage.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there's honour crimes. And that has affected trans family members who have come out as trans. They have been killed in honour crimes. So, this is the kind of shit.
What's an honour crime?
That you basically disgrace the family.
Oh, okay. One of those things. Yeah.
There's different varieties of it. I'm not an expert, but it's if you, from what I understand, it's if you disgrace the family, sort of stuff. So, yeah, this sort of shit is still going on, and it needs to be stamped out. It really does. Unfortunately, because of COVID-19, not many events to honour International Women's Day this year. But let's hope there's some real life events to honour it next year. And we're going to have to talk about this. So, Harry and Meghan gave an interview to Oprah Winfrey, which I think was broadcast on CBS, wasn't it, last night? It was a 2-hour interview. and basically, they say that there were members of the royal household who asked how dark their son's skin would be.
Well, of course they did. It's one of those things where it's like the racism gets ignored by an incredibly racist family.
Well, here's the thing, right? This doesn't surprise me. This really doesn't surprise me at all. And yet everybody sort of in the British establishment today is shock, horror. How dare there be racism? There's been racism continuously since Harry started dating Meghan. Because she's the colour of her skin. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that and I assume she's also not royalty, so that's a factor as well.
Well, yeah, she's not one of the inbred toffs, is she?
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, there's a part of me that just feels sorry for them. Because it's obvious that Harry genuinely loves Meghan, right?
Yeah, it's weird how there can be stories after stories after stories about the importance of love, and Disney movies are praised, but like apparently in Britain, the fucking royal family are still stuck in the Middle Ages, and it's just like, love? What is this?
You've got to think of duty and country, boy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways,
look, God appointed us king.
Piers Morgan was losing his shit about it. Well, he would, wouldn't he? Some people say that. I saw on Twitter earlier. Some people will say, "Oh, he's becoming Katie Hopkins," and I'll go, "Becoming? He already is." Anyways, so let's have a watch.
Over the Queen. Listen, by all means, let's applaud the Queen when she does something right. But when she does something wrong,
hold on, you can't hear. Okay, hold on. I know why, because stupid me forgot to press the button. Right. Right. You should be able to hear it now.
Over the Queen. Listen, by all means, let's applaud the Queen when she does something right. But when she does something wrong, we need to call her out.
What does she do wrong? What does she do wrong?
What kind of grandmother? Let me finish. What kind of grandmother would be so close to her grandson Harry, but then not use her power and influence as queen to protect them from the racist media coverage? What kind of grandmother will protect her own son, Prince Andrew, from the potential crime of raping a minor, but will do jack all to protect Harry and Meghan, especially?
That's a very good point.
Yeah.
There's a lot of the establishment are trying to protect Prince Andrew, who is most probably a paedophile, and yet they have spun bullshit stories about Meghan being a bully towards the royal household staff. Where every time Meghan has brought up the issue of racism, something isn't quite right there,
Yeah.
I have no doubt that she would have heard about the suicidal thoughts and the help and support she needs. And then you sit there hammering on about how the royal institution is not racist. Are you out of your godforsaken mind?
No, you know what? I find what you're saying about the Queen actually disgraceful. I find what you're saying... You're entitled to your opinion, Sola. Sorry, no, I'm allowed to respond to what you've just said.
Is rooted... Listen, you might learn something. The royal family as an institution is rooted in colonialism, white supremacy, and racism.
Yep, bang on.
Yeah.
Absolutely bang fucking on. And Piers Morgan can't fucking deal with it, can he? He can't deal with the fact that, he's a white, privileged, heteronormative guy, right? And that, basically... because of historical reasons, the world is geared in his favour. Yeah, and he can't see that.
The legacy's right there. So you're now surprised that a comment would have been made by several members of the royal family about how dark Archie's skin is.
It's not several members, actually. No, you can't spew lies.
You're more outraged that Harry and Meghan
are we allowed to engage in any of this?
Let me finish.
Well, you're not stopping.
More outraged that Harry and Meghan had the audacity to speak that truth than you should be at the actual outrage of racism.
Right, okay. Am I allowed to respond to this? Am I allowed to respond yet?
You can respond now.
Okay. I think what you just said about the Queen is disgusting.
Yeah, well, want some disgusting stuff said about the Queen. Okay, Piers, fuck the Queen. Okay? There you are. I've said it. Alright? Fuck the Queen. Fuck the monarchy. Alright? Yeah. That's my opinion.
I think it's unbelievable. You talk about.
You know, the Queen, she's a white, wealthy woman who basically sits on top of a throne, you know, as the head of state because she was born with the right silver spoon up her ass. There you are. I've sucking said it. Right?
Yeah, and I've said that she has the possibility of, at worst, the possibility of injuring herself with the waving. I take back that statement. It's probably much more like the former Amazon CEO, you know, sleeping 8 nights, sleeping 8 hours a night, and like hand waving for like you know, a handful of time during the day.
Yeah, exactly. Anyways, Trish Goodard's well, she put Piers down quite well. Have a listen to it.
Why is everybody else such an expert about racism against black people? I'm sorry. You know, I'm sorry, Piers. You don't get to call out what is and isn't racism against black people. You can call out all the other stuff. I'll leave you to call out all the other stuff you want, but leave the racism stuff to us.
I think when...
Yeah, she's absolutely fucking right, and Piers should also shut up about trans. I mean, what, mate? He's always basically any time someone comes on to challenge his views about trans people, right? He always goes, "I believe in genuine transgenderism," and I always think the most obvious question to ask him, right, is, okay, Piers, what's genuine transgenderism? What makes you a fucking expert? And it's the same with race. You know, he's not black. Racism. He's not black. He doesn't know what it's like. Okay. So.
Well, I mean, yeah, and it's one of those things where listening to and referring to the black people speaking out against racism is oftentimes a good way of understanding. Listening to marginalized communities is actually a good way of understanding what marginalized communities go through.
Yeah, but Piers Morgan doesn't want to do that. He wants to tell them how it is and how it should be. Yeah?
Yeah.
And that's the fucking problem with him.
Yeah.
All right, so to do with the interview, basically they said there was a member of the royal household who you know questioned about how dark that Archie would how dark Archie's skin would be, and but they refused to actually say who. They have told Oprah Winfrey privately, so she claims. The thing is, and I'm going to say this, two things. First of all, one point I'd make about Meghan and Harry, there is a bit of hypocrisy here. They're going to dine out on being either royals or former royals for the rest of their lives. I mean, this interview is part of that. Okay. No, I'm not. Yeah. I'm not undermining their genuine claims. Their claims about the royal house members of the royal household being racist pieces of shit, because actually that is pretty believable. But all things considered, the issue though is, because they won't name and shame, right? People are always going to doubt whether this is true. Okay.
Yeah.
Now,
well, I mean, it's the It's the game that you play when you're in a position of power, especially if it's like the racism came. I don't know who the racism came from, so if they're concerned about like that person's life being absolutely ruined or whatever, it's one of those things where it's difficult to say because people do dogpile people, and if someone major calls you out on something, you will get a lot of hate from it, and that can cause problems. But it's also unlikely, if we're talking about royal people, that they'll even be that affected.
Yeah. Anyways, one culprit is Prince Philip. This is a whole list of all the shitty racist things he has said. Let me find this is probably the most famous. If you stay here much longer, this is when he was on a state visit to China. You will be slitty-eyed. The prince told exchange students who lived in I can never pronounce it. I actually know somebody from there.
I assume you're a Sean or whatever.
Zhejiang. Sorry for any Chinese people watching.
Yeah.
I don't mean to butcher. I actually know someone who's actually from that place. I could have asked them, but when asked his opinion on Beijing, he replied ghastly. There's something he said to an Ethiopian woman. I'm trying to find it. As
sorry, I love the first cringy statement is funny. British women can't cook. Look, see my ability.
How the fuck? Yeah, I'm sure. How the fuck would he know? Like Lizzie's cooked anything for him.
Well, yeah, I was more upset about the fact that I can't seem to do posh at the moment, probably because I'm listening to you talk.
Oh yeah, you are a woman, aren't you? He said to a Kenyan woman who was presenting him with a small gift in 1984. There's another one about an Ethiopian woman. I'm trying to find. I did.
Oh God, aren't you most descended from? Aren't most of you descended from pirates? He inquired to an islander while in the Cayman Islands. Wow.
There's one. You managed not to get eaten then, the prince asked a British student who had been trekking in Papua New Guinea in 1998.
That's so fucked up.
He's just a repugnant piece of racist shit.
Oh God!
And I can't.
Ableism. He asked if someone. Oh fuck! There was a whole like deaf thing. Yeah, there's a lot of cringe.
Yeah, he's a big.
Wait, go on. It's 19. Sorry, a little bit off. 19 or 17. Sorry. Deaf.
Did you throw spears at?
Near there. No wonder you're deaf. That's fucked up. Oh God. Do you still throw spears at each other? That's fucked up.
Yeah, the group of indigenous Australians in 2002. Yeah, I mean he's.
God damn, are these like racist?
I mean, who's on drugs here? He looks if he's on drugs. He said to a 14-year-old boy while at a Bangladesh youth centre. Fucking hell.
Yeah.
Just take the fucking picture, he told a photographer during a Battle of Britain event. Yeah. I mean, he's known for being a bigoted piece of shit, okay? So if you know, the most likely culprit of questioning the skin colour of how dark the skin colour of Harry and Meghan's son was going to be, it would be Prince Philip, methinks. Talking of old racist gobshites, so Nigel Farage has quit the Brexit. Well, he stood down as leader. What's now called the leader of the Reform UK. The thing is, right, which of course used to be called the Brexit Party. The thing is, they don't want reform, right? Don't want a reform. Reform means progress. No, they want to go back to some golden age which never fucking was, and it certainly wasn't a golden age for women, disabled people, LGBTQ people,
people of color.
Yeah, immigrants. No, he's I mean, he's the thing is, right, and I've noticed this recently. One of the reasons he stepped down is that since Brexit has happened, I've noticed that there's a lot more backlash against. It's like, yeah, Nigel, you had your say, now fuck off. He's just he said he still wants to be an influencer. I fucking well hope not, because there is a correlation between when he started getting a larger and larger platform, partly due to the BBC I'd had, when he didn't fucking deserve it, and the rise in hate crime in this country. Seriously, there was. And I do put it down to Nigel Farage. He, it's often said about Nigel Farage, he made racism acceptable again.
Oh God.
I mean, yeah, I just wish he would just. Actually, I just wish he would fuck off to America and explore his bromance with Donald Trump further in some grotty motel somewhere.
Yeah, but I mean that.
I know some people say, "Oh, that's a homophobic smear." I don't care if they.
Oh no, I wasn't thinking about that. I was just thinking about Donald. I don't know. I was trying to think of a joke, and
my feeling is that Donald Trump has a micro penis, so it'd be pretty hard. But now the point is that they're both homophobes, but they seem to have a lot of love for each other. If you know what I mean. I mean, if they did want to cop off, I'd say jolly good. Maybe if you got all that repressed, all that repression out of you in a bout of sex with each other, then maybe you wouldn't hate so much. Yeah. But I mean, this is the guy who said stuff like the handgun ban was ludicrous. Oh great, yeah, because gammon, racist gammon waving around handguns. That's what we really fucking want, isn't it? Yeah. Not.
Well, I mean, the Black Panther Party was pretty cool.
Gammon is white people, by the way.
Yeah, I know.
Equivalent to, it's the British version of redneck. The thing is, he has destroyed this country in more ways than you know. Racism and general big hatred has been on the increase. But not just that. This meme actually explains the problem. 120,000 COVID deaths, Tory incompetence on an epic scale, but they got Brexit done. You see, this whole thing that, for the whole Brexit thing, it was like a great big fucking distraction, a racist distraction. And I'm going to get on to Claire Fox later, who denies that Brexit was racist. Well, put it like this, right? Not every person who voted for Brexit was a racist, but every racist voted for Brexit. Okay? And don't fucking tell me. Farage himself was standing in front of fucking, billboards, with anti-immigrant slogans, which were similar to the fucking neo-Nazis. So don't fucking sit there and say to me, Brexit wasn't racist, when, Farage was, essentially conducting a fucking racist Brexit campaign. Immigration was he made it an issue in the whole Brexit thing, and Claire Fox said, it was an issue for me. Well, no, it wasn't an issue for you, Claire, but it was an issue. It was a motivating factor for a lot of people, thanks to Nigel Farage whipping up hatred against immigrants. And I don't always makes me laugh. You get the fucking barstool bigots in the local pub, right, who are pissing their lives away. And it's the green beer tokens, right, which enable them to do so, are usually paid by the taxes of the immigrants who have 2 fucking jobs.
Well, yeah, and obviously, yeah, like you mentioned, it is like the like the fucking white replacement beer type. The great replacement, which the great replacement, which of course is an anti-Semitic conspiracy theory, because they think that us Jews are trying to have mass immigration to breed out to breed out white people. And obviously, like the only people who don't consider me to be Jewish, or pretty much almost everyone who doesn't consider me to be white and Jewish is like an anti-Semite.
Yeah, and
because I'm treated white everywhere, and it's not just like a fucking white passing thing. There isn't really there isn't the systemic racism against white people garnered throughout most of the fucking country. At least here in America.
Well, I mean, in one statement, Nigel Farage said, I'm leaving the Brexit Party in the capable hands of Richard Tice, who spouts bullshit about cultural Marxism, which is an anti-Semitic conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
Anyways, haven't you got to go?
No, oh fuck, did I mess up the time again?
You said you had to go at 6:38.
I meant fucking 8:38. God damn it.
Oh, okay.
I cannot do math. Look, this is what happens when I try to do math early in the morning.
I know when we've scheduled to do streams together, she always gets the time wrong. She thinks she's on Eastern Standard Time, despite the fact that she lives in Minneapolis, which is on Central Time, because it's in the center of the US.
I live in St. Paul, although I might be living in Minneapolis soon.
But
I suppose that's just your future vision.
But do you live in the do you live in the town which created the Juicy Lucy?
I don't know what the Juicy Lucy is.
You need to find that out. Yeah, it was supposedly created in Minneapolis, but there's 2 restaurants who lay claim to have created it, and they said the other one didn't create it. Anyways, you can find that out for yourself.
Let's go. I don't eat cheeseburgers. That's right. Probably
so. While people have been distracted with Brexit and COVID and whatever else, I reported on this the other week that there was this picture of people at a food bank in Scotland. I mean, this was about a month ago when it was snowing, and this is in the 5th richest country in the world. Can I just point out,
yeah.
Well,
it's almost like late stage capitalism creates problems.
Yeah, and here well, if you think this is an isolated incident, watch this.
Bueno, os voy a enseñar la cola larguísima de personas que hay aquí. Son todos estudiantes internacionales, algunos tienen familia, que están esperando para recibir un paquete de comida en una charity, en una entidad sin ánimo de lucro.
Now, I see an awful lot of immigrant workers there. And, you know, these are you know, because I know what the far right is going to say. They're going to say, oh, well, these are just immigrants looking for a free handout. No, more likely they're the immigrants who do the shitty jobs a lot of Brits won't do for shit wages, right? And in fact, I would imagine there might actually be some NHS workers there, because you do hear stories about I've heard stories about nurses, supposed key workers, supposedly the lifeline of the NHS.
Yeah.
Who've worked tirelessly, putting their lives at risk, during the COVID pandemic, yet having to go to fucking food banks, otherwise they will starve because of the piss poor wages they get paid, right?
Yeah, people,
but hey, the Tories, but hey, the Tories, Boris and Nigel, they got us Brexit. Yeah, you're going to see a lot more of this because of Brexit. I'm going to add.
Well, yeah.
Anyways,
it's almost like when you're talking about you have conflicting ideas with the in a lot of countries where there's the nationalism, which is one idea, and then the fact that late stage capitalism requires marginalized groups of people to function, and that creates those things don't work well together.
Yeah, but you see, all I'm saying is this is a fucking disgrace.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I remember Cameron, the cocky fuck, saying he said when the basically austerity started to have its effect, and the amount of fucking food banks shot up, and it was like, well, I'm glad that the British people are charitable enough to arrange for there to be food banks. There shouldn't be a need for fucking food banks in a country as wealthy as ours. We should be able to feed our population. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and instead you have a bunch of capitalists who can create plenty of food for everyone, just creating a false scarcity.
Yeah.
Manufactured scarcity.
So, to add insult to injury, right? The government announced a 1% pay rise for NHS staff, which actually is not a pay rise, it's a pay cut. Because when you factor in inflation.
Yeah.
And this is what
it should be like at least 2.5% pay raise.
Well, yes, at the moment. Well,
inflation.
Currently at the moment, inflation's hovering around about 0.7%, but only because a great deal of the economy is shut. Okay, because of COVID. But when the lockdown's over in a few months, inflation will go back up. Okay, it's expected to reach about 1.5% at the end of the year, which means. When the supposed pay rise kicks in for NHS staff, it's going to be worth fuck all. Anyways, this is what Nadine Dorries, the Health Minister, said.
When you were told that the government would be offering a 1% pay rise to NHS staff in England?
My reaction was that I was actually surprised because I knew that we'd frozen public sector pay, that no one in the public sector was receiving a pay rise. So I was pleasantly surprised that we were making an offer. I obviously know that...
She was pleasantly surprised that NHS staff were technically going to get a pay cut after all they've been through in the last fucking year.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, this is an absolute fucking disgrace.
And also, like, a fucking pay freeze on NHS workers, that's wrong on so many levels.
Yes. Yeah. you know, I know, as I remember, you know, the thing is, right, we had all that clap for carers stuff, right? Now, I don't want to sort of diss anyone for wanting to honour NHS staff and key workers, you know, by coming out and clapping for them. But, you know, a lot of these people voted fucking Tory, right? And, like, you know, rather than, you know, go out and clap for carers, I prefer you didn't vote fucking Tory, right? You know, clapping for carers ain't going to get, you know, put food on the table, ain't going to provide a fucking roof over their head, is it? No, a pay rise would do that. Yeah?
Yeah.
They have been royally fucking fucked with this. And you know what the twist with Nadine Dorries is? Right? She used to be a nurse. I mean, I know, that's an oxymoron, a Tory who used to be a nurse. You'd think she'd know better, right? I can't help thinking that Nadine Dorries was more an angel of death. I really do think people should investigate the death rate on the wards that she used to work on. No, seriously, I don't think Beverly Allen has a fucking patch on her. Yeah, I could just see Nadine Dorries, you know, going up to some old person going, "Oh, come on, my darling, let me smother you to death. You're a bit too much of a burden on the taxpayer." You know, that is the kind of fucking shit she probably, you know, yeah, I could see it. I'm not saying it happened. I just say, you know, it wouldn't surprise me. You know?
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. Obviously, we have no footage to confirm or deny.
This is all allegedly, okay?
But that said, it is something that she would say.
Yeah, you know, Nadine Dorries, right?
That's not true. Sorry, my brain immediately went to fucking accountability. And she can't blame. It's more difficult for her to blame someone else if when it comes to doing that.
Right. Well, despite all that, right, here's the latest fucking opinion poll taken after the budget. What the fuck? The Conservatives are up by 4 points. Despite all the fucking corruption and mismanagement, you know, there's been with the fucking COVID pandemic, the Tories are still have increased their leads in fucking opinion polls.
Well, yeah, and it's one of those things where
even people who are really fucking stupid, right? Well, I mean, they are. I mean, you know, they vote Tory and they go out and clap for fucking carers, you know. You know, the best thing they could ever do for fucking NHS stuff is not vote Tory. But anyways, so even people who are really fucking stupid, or Keir Starmer's doing a really shit job, or both. I think it's a mixture.
Yeah, but I mean, also people don't make the best decisions when they're desperate, and that's, I mean, fascism, you know, thrives off of desperation.
Well, yeah, I've always said that, yeah, fascists always swoop in and try and pretend to be the friend of the underdog, right? When they're not, they are usually fascism is very much establishment, shall we say? It's just that they pose as the friends of the underdog. You know, it's always like, you know, you can't, you know, look at all the immigrants taking your jobs, or look at the Jews, you know, meddling with the with high finance and all that sort of stuff. You know.
Yeah, look at all the Jews and the weather machines causing.
Yeah. Anyways, so time for my favourite part of the show. Shit on
Labour leader
Starmer.
Keir Starmer fails to answer a question on BBC News. That just sounds like a running segment.
You really do come up with some good lines these days.
Yeah, well, I mean, the more traumatic brain injury heals, the more, the higher quality my cognitive.
Well, your joke about Alex Jones last week broke me. You know, I just seriously never expected that to come from you. Anyways,
look, I'm Jewish, so inherently comedy's in my background.
Yeah. All right. So, have a listen to what he says.
Response on it, and we'll continue to challenge them on it.
So you want pay rises for everyone,
you don't want any tax rises. Is that financially responsible?
We have to have a plan for the future to rebuild the foundations of...
Yeah, but you don't have a fucking plan, Keir. That's the problem. You're saying on one... What he actually said about the corporation tax increase is that he doesn't... He opposes an immediate corporate tax increase. Well, that's just kicking into the grass, right?
Yeah.
And if he was in government, you know he wouldn't increase corporation tax. When in fact, actually, there's every justification to increase corporation tax, particularly on the large corporations such as Amazon and the various large supermarkets who have done quite nicely out of COVID. So,
yeah.
I kind of
think...
And
weirdly, Elon Musk, I still don't understand how Elon Musk managed to get as rich as he has during COVID. Like, he has failed on so many fronts, and it's just like,
well, yeah,
how the fuck does he keep getting money?
His rockets explode, and
at least it landed this time.
He says the Tesla cars are smash proof, and then someone with a hammer at the presentation smashes it. Anyways,
of our country, you don't do that by freezing the pay of those on the front line throughout this pandemic, public sector workers, whilst at the same time giving people like Dominic Cummings a pay rise. That is the wrong priorities.
Now, okay. He says that there should be a pay increase for NHS staff, right? But, and there is a but here, he doesn't say how much, right? And also, the other thing...
I mean, Keir Starmer probably thinks 50 cents a year is enough. It's technically a pay raise.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. They work our.
Well, the other thing,
so it'd be 200. It'd be it would be probably £2.55.
But he's
55 pence or whatever.
But he's also fucking over the lowest paid, and in fact, some left-wing Labour MPs are not happy about it. The government is proposing freezing the threshold for when you start paying tax on your income, right? Which sounds good, but it's not actually, because of inflation, incomes are going to rise. So therefore, there will be a lot more people paying the base rate of income tax rather than, than having before got a large proportion of their income tax free. So, and that for the lowest paid, that I do agree that they, you should try and alleviate the tax burden as much as you can.
Yeah. The general purpose of taxes is to try to fund government processes, and also, well, I mean, it does help to minimize the excessive corporate control.
The way I see it, right? If I think it's £12,750 at the moment is the entry is the current base threshold, right? So anything up to that you get tax free, okay? And I think that has a really good motivation of getting people into work, right? And if they get back most of their income, they're going to have more to spend, okay? Which is good for the economy. Now, obviously, lowest paid aren't going to have as much disposable income with rents and bills and whatever else. But the more you can give them that, the better it is for them, better it is for the economy, okay? I do think, though, that the highest paid should pay the most, as it's often said. Those with the broadest shoulders should bear the most weight. But Starmer seems to be in a complete and utter fucking mess about this. Also, the other point I'd make about he's saying that there should be a pay rise for NHS staff. The Royal College of Nurses are balloting members on strike action. I wonder where he's going to fall on that one if they do strike. I mean, they have every justification, and I think the public would be with them. I think on strike action, but I'm not sure Starmer would be. He seems to be, he doesn't seem to be making those kind of noises, and if he doesn't, then it's going to be even more painful for him because various unions have already decreased the amount of donations they give to the Labour Party, and I think they would do that even further. So, it's not good. Anyways, so on to the next story. Sorry. Yeah. So this is an article written by Navarra, published on Navarra Media's website. For those who don't know who Navarra Media are, they're kind of the British version of the Young Turks. They have a daily show on their channel. Anyways, last month a leaked strategy document revealed that Labour leader Keir Starmer plans to capitalise on Captain Tom Mania by brandishing Union Jacks and praising the armed forces to win back the trust of disillusioned voters. In other words, he's shagging the flag and sucking the cock of the military-industrial complex. On both sides of the on sides of the parties, both sides of the parties are. The leak was met with consternation. For the left, it marks the culmination of troubling blue Labourist trend. Since becoming leader, Starmer has rubbished the Black Lives he's rubbished Black Lives Matter moment. Endorsed 10 years.
Moment. Oh, okay. Sorry.
Well, yeah. Okay, I should explain. He described. That's not well written, I have to say. Black Lives Matter, he described as a moment.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, and endorsed 10-year jail terms for protesters who vandalized war memorials.
Yeah, exactly. Trump. Do you remember Trump brought that in the US for federal? Yeah.
I was going to ask, what's a blue laborist trend? What's a blue laborist? What does that mean?
Oh, right. That means basically they're Tories.
Oh, okay.
Another word for them would.
Is it different? Oh, because labor is normally red, but it's one of those things where weirdly in America.
I know it's the other way around.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah, well, and you're the
legal immunity for police officers who commit murder. That right there is a fucking problem.
Back similar to
protection for British soldiers.
Yeah, basically, there was this big vote in Parliament, but basically allowing British soldiers to go rape, pillage, and murder. I mean, it was what the This is a guy. Do you know what he did before he was an MP? He was a human rights lawyer. And there he is backing fucking British soldiers doing all violating all manner of fucking human rights. He has exercised final traces of Jeremy Corbyn's progressive internationalism, aligning with far right apartheid like Netanyahu. Starmer is accused of being a bit of overtly Zionistic, shall we say?
Well, I mean that's a major problem in a lot of military.
But there's one. I mean,
complex areas. Like I understand the guilt, but like, because plenty of Jewish people tried to escaped to England and America.
Yeah, and the Brits and the Americans told them to fuck off.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Voyage of the Damned, if I remember rightly. There's a famous ship full of Jewish refugees who was not allowed entry into the United States, if I remember rightly. Anyways,
yeah.
What was I going to say? Look, when we talk about Zionism here, what we're talking about is not. I mean, neither me or Ozma would dispute the right of the self-determination of the Israeli state. Okay, I fully support the establishment of the state of Israel and for it to exist. Jews need a homeland. We are a persecuted bunch. Okay. But Zionism, but the Netanyahu brand of Zionism is more akin to fascism. In other words,
it's extremist Zionism.
Yeah, and the thing is, because Corbyn was always considered an anti-Semite, but I heard him on various occasions say that the state of Israel has every right to exist, and that he does support, there being a state of Israel, the state of Israel. Now, but with Starmer, he's going further in basically not calling out Netanyahu's human rights violations, which I point out, even when you had Labour leaders who weren't as vocal as Jeremy Corbyn on the Israeli-Palestine conflict, such as Ed Miliband. Ed Miliband, called out the Israeli government for its human rights violations. And I'll point out, Ed Miliband himself is Jewish. So, the Labour Party have always supported human rights and have always opposed oppression. Okay?
Marginalized groups and oppressed groups can still end up oppressing other groups, other marginalized or oppressed groups.
Anyways, on with this article. As well as being friendly with Mike Pompeo, I'm sure you know who he is. She's probably now going to tell me, no, I don't.
Wait, you said Mike Pompeo? Oh, fuck, no, I don't know who Mike Pompeo is.
Well, he was part of, isn't he a senator? Yeah. I was just start looking.
I'm like, the first Mike that I can think of is fucking Mike Pence. Okay. Oh God. Sorry. Directors of Central Intelligence Agency are oftentimes not the best.
Oh, is he the director of the CIA?
Former director of the CIA.
Yeah, but didn't he have a role in Trump's administration?
I mean, wouldn't surprise me. Yeah, he was Secretary of State during Trump's.
Right. Okay. Quite high up. So yeah.
With how much Trump moved people around, I forgot. Because it was 2018 to 2021, so he was not the original Secretary of State. He was the replacement Secretary of State.
Yes. Last week, he instructed his shadow defense minister to tout the party's non-negotiable support for nuclear weapons. Yeah, he's got a bit of a hard-on for nukes, whereas Corbyn didn't. In the light of these actions, commentators who believed Starmer would revitalise Corbynism with a dose of loyally competence are now expressing their disenchantment in apologetic op-eds. And then for his allies, the Labour right, the thought of Keir Starmer rebranding as a rich man's Nick Griffin. For that, you would know who Nick Griffin is. He used to be the leader of the British National Party, and if just by that name, I think you can tell what their politics were.
Yeah, similar to the Christian nationalists.
Yeah, basically the BNP were UKIP before UKIP. Has also begun to rankle. Sympathetic papers like the New Statement ain't a paper, it's a magazine, but never mind. And The Economist also are voicing doubts about these patriotic gestures, which they fear will highlight Labour's lack of political vision and play to the Tory strengths. Starmer's own MPs are concerned that flag and family soundbites won't wash with the intended red wall audience, who may not be as credulous as the member of Holborn and St Pancras assumes. Right, yeah. Basically, what Starmer's thinking is because Labour lost a whole load of seats up north, there was you could at one point, right, you could walk from Hull to Liverpool, right, across the Pennines, and every constituency would be Labour, right? That's what they're talking about, the red wall. And Labour lost a lot of seats at the last general election, right?
Yeah.
And so the thought is that because the Tories won these seats, which were considered the Labour heartlands, that Labour's got to basically be more Tory than Tory to get those seats back. However, one thing they're not factoring in here is that the reason why those Labour seats were lost was because those constituencies, weirdly, having voted Labour for Labour MPs into Parliament, were also the constituencies that voted for Brexit, right? And basically, whereas Labour at the last election were in a mess when it came to Brexit, largely due to Keir Starmer, who was the shadow Brexit secretary, and made a complete arse of him, fudge arse of himself. Sorry, that's a wrong thing to me say, because everyone's going to say that's a homophobic smirk. No, sorry, fudged. Sorry, fudged. He completely fucking fucked it up, right? Because Labour were in a complete mess, and basically all the Tories said was get Brexit done, get Brexit done. That simple fucking mantra had people think, people who had been weary of Brexit and just wanted to get the fucking thing done, lend their vote to the Tories, essentially, to get Brexit done. Now, I'm not saying that they will automatically go back to voting Labour at the next general election, but the point is that Starmer is using this as an excuse to move the party more to the right than they've ever fucking been. Yeah. And he endangers actually destroying the party, because I think that voters up north, right, a lot of them sort of the old Labour types who probably like Jeremy Corbyn for most of his domestic policy suggestions, they might look at the Labour Party now and go, what the fuck, and stay at home. And therefore Labour will probably lose even more marginal seats.
Yeah, and this is a similar problem with the Democratic Party sometimes in America.
What people really want is a working fucking alternative. I mean, the other thing that you hear from the Labour leadership at the moment is, oh, we're 4 years out from a general election, and you shouldn't expect us to come up with policies now. And it was like, well, first of all, you don't know if you're 4 years out from the next general election. That something could happen with this government, and it could fall, and we could have ourselves another general election. I mean, for fuck's sake, we had, 3 general elections in 4 years, during the last decade. So you need to be a government in waiting, mate. And you don't have it in you. You don't have the vision. You don't have the ambition. I mean, he keeps trying to compare himself to Clement Attlee, and it's like, well, Clement Attlee, the guy who founded the NHS and built the fucking welfare state, and got this country back on its feet after the fucking Second World War. you don't hear any of the vision which Clement Attlee had. And to be honest, I just think Starmer needs to go. He just isn't up to the fucking job.
Yeah.
That's it. I keep explaining specifically why. What Labour need to do is they need to get back to equality and social justice, which are Labour's core values, which are very much needed now. Coming out of this COVID pandemic, because Rishi Sunak at last week's budget, he wasn't like overtly suggesting there will be austerity, but he was strongly hinting there's going to be. And really, does the country want another bout of austerity, particularly after the trauma of the last year or so? Methinks not. Labour should be able to capitalise on that, but they're not capitalising. That's the problem. All right. One other group which is not going to be... Starmer, when it comes to trans rights, has been fucking woeful. He's sitting on the fucking fence and saying nothing. But there's another group which we shouldn't expect much help from the. We should expect Labour to speak up for disabled people, and in fact, I'll point out, Jeremy Corbyn spoke up more for disabled people than any other Labour leader I've known.
Well, that's the thing when you listen to marginalized communities and actually try to speak up for them.
Yeah, well, Starmer ain't doing that. And he's also got somebody called Rachel Reeves in his shadow cabinet. Now, Rachel Reeves served under Ed Miliband in the shadow cabinet back at the beginning of the last decade. And she was the shadow DWP secretary. And she actually said that the Tories, she said Labour would be tougher than the Tories on disabled people. Not long before the 2015 general election. Now, she says she's often said that she's been misquoted about that. However, that's what disabled people heard her loud and clear. It was a dog whistle to basically try and attract those people who thought that Labour's spending money in government had got out of control, and they were going to continue the Tory tradition of fucking disabled people to pay for the mistakes of bankers for wrecking the world economy. Yeah. So, anyways, there has been a report that the government's welfare reform has had a devastating impact. I can sit here and say we don't need a report to tell us this, but it's handy to have a report to tell us this so that we can basically point to shit which the Tories have done, which has been researched. Anyways, lucky enough this has an audio version, so.
Government welfare reforms introduced in 2016 have had a devastating impact on disabled people and others in low-income households over the last 5 years, according to a new report by a group of MPs and peers. The report, PDF, by the All-Party Parliamentary Group on Health in All Policies, which draws together research from numerous sources over the last 5 years, was described this week as stark and hard-hitting. It focuses on the impact of 5 key measures within the Welfare Reform and Work Act 2016, including cuts to the benefit cap, freezing certain benefits for 4 years, and cuts of almost £30 a week to disabled people placed in the Work-Related Activity Group of Employment and Support Allowance, ESSA. The report says that the disproportional, negative impact on disabled people and children was reprehensible, and it adds, the increase in social security-driven poverty has been mirrored by a deterioration in our health status as a country, one of the few advanced economies where since 2018 life expectancy has been flatlining.
Now, you kind of think that disabled people have enough stress in their life, just being able to get through the day-to-day.
Well, also, it
which a lot of...
if you have disabilities and one of the factors is generalized anxiety disorder.
Well, no, what?
That definitely adds to all the anxiety.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying that, disabled people have enough stress to deal with the day-to-day, which able-bodied people take for fucking granted. And the Tories decided, oh, well, we're going to make, your life, fivefold more stressful, by, threatening to basically, possibly, leave you for starving and for dead, The Tories. Well, people say how callous it is that the Tories have allowed tens of thousands of people needlessly die of COVID. Well, they killed over 120,000 disabled people with welfare reform. So, disabled people saw this coming, and the disabled people have been vastly disproportionately affected by fucking COVID. Lack of fucking care and support because of COVID restrictions, obviously. But also, COVID has tended to targeted disabled people because a lot of disabled people have weaker immune systems.
But I mean, also there's stuff like food services and mask wearing, which some disabled people do have issues with masks, whether it be because of anxiety.
Like
claustrophobia stuff.
I did see a local news report about an autistic man who was thrown out of a supermarket for not wearing a mask. They didn't understand,
Well, I mean, the whole point of vaccines is to try to prevent the people who can't get the vaccines from dying, along with prevent people from wearing diseases. The reason for wearing masks should be to prevent prevent you from accidentally spreading disease.
I understand.
Especially to people who can't wear a mask.
I understand. I understand that. I just remembered there was a report about an autistic man who got thrown out of a supermarket because he I guess he didn't understand. I will admit I only saw the headline, but it was kind of some people aren't able to grasp why they have to wear a mask due to having a learning disability. You've got to take that into consideration as well. But what I'm essentially saying here is that disabled people have been fucked by welfare reform and now getting fucked by COVID. And the Tories just don't give a shit. Now, this did have a wry smile, gave me a wry chuckle. So you won't know who Atos is, but I will try and explain. So to carry out the welfare reform, they outsourced the assessments to this company called Atos. And they're generally very well hated. And rightfully so, because essentially Atos were given quotas about how many people they needed to fail various assessments, because basically the government were looking to get the welfare bill down. And of course Atos got bonuses for that. Okay? Well,
which is fucked up for so many reasons.
Well, Atos had a visit from the bailiffs. Now listen, why?
A court has forced a discredited government contract to pay £2,500 compensation to a disabled woman after a negligent disability benefit assessment left her in debt and experiencing significant mental distress. Atos, which failed to defend the case, originally ignored the order to pay the compensation awarded by the county court but was eventually forced to pay up after being visited by debt enforcement officers. The court has forced a discredited government contract to pay £2,000.
I'm sorry. That's sweet revenge in a small part. I'm sure there are many other Atos victims who haven't got what they should get. But the fact that they said the fucking bailiffs around to Atos. I mean, that's just really funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Oh, yes. Tommy Robinson. Now, yes, talking about bailiffs and bankruptcy. Tommy Robinson, of course, former leader of the English Defence League and all-round criminal, violent thug. I mean, this guy has been to prison a couple of times. Yeah. For relatively lengthy periods of time. I think he got done for, passport fraud. Did 18 months for that, and there was another occasion, I think, for assault. He got 2 years. So, I mean, he's just an odious racist football hooligan. But, he's fucking the hero to the fucking gammon, isn't he? Well, anyways, he's being sued at the moment, and he's now claiming that he's broke. Robertson is being sued by Jamal Hajasi, a Syrian refugee, whom Robinson claimed was not innocent after a video of the 16-year-old being attacked in a school playground went viral in November 18. Hajasi was filmed being pushed to the ground and threatened with drowning at Alabot. Can you pronounce that word?
Almondbury High School in Huddersfield?
Yeah, Huddersfield, up in Yorkshire. Robertson discussed the incident on 2 Facebook videos, claiming that Jassy was not innocent and he violently attacks young English girls at his school. He also said that the teenager beat a girl black and blue, completely untrue, by the way. Threatened to stab another boy at his school. Robertson is relying on. But anyways, so essentially, he's now saying he's going to have to defend himself because he's broke. In fact, the Times.
Well, I mean, this is time to sue Tommy Robinson.
Well, basically,
is where that he should go.
So basically, Tommy Robinson's he's now declaring bankruptcy after this happened when he said he had to defend himself because he couldn't afford a lawyer. The thing is, that report doesn't say he has declared bankruptcy, but that one does. Unfortunately, I can't show you because most of it's behind a paywall. The thing is, this is just another grift from him. Essentially, he knows full well he'll say he's broke, and there's plenty of gullible fucking gammon who will, basically give him money. Okay, it's just a ploy. And also it's a ploy. It's also a fiddle to try and, shall we say, not pay out when he loses this case, because he's going to lose it. Okay,
yeah.
And I think Katie Hopkins tried a similar thing with Jack Monroe when Jack Monroe won her case against Katie Hopkins. The thing is, and we know that Tommy's already tried one fiddle. He basically last summer said that he was going to move to Spain this year, and the reason he was able to do this was because Tommy, being the true patriot, of course, he doesn't just have an English passport. He isn't just proud to be English. No, he's proud to be Irish as well because he has an Irish passport. And so, because Republic of Ireland is a member of the EU, you could obviously move between there's the free movement of people between states. something which he campaigned against, you know, in this country with Brexit, but was, was going to use himself basically as a means of trying to get round paying up when he lost this libel case. The thinking being that if he moved to Spain, it would be a lot harder for the courts to, basically get bailiffs to seize assets of his when he had to fucking pay up. As it goes, that didn't happen. I think the Spanish authorities said they didn't want him. Now he's trying another fiddle. Yeah. And all the while he'll be as I said, there's way too many gullible gammon who are prepared to give this fuckwit money.
Yeah.
Talking of racist gobshites, Lawrence Fox
oh God.
is running for London Mayor. Yes, it comes after his anti-woke racism party has been approved by the Electoral Commission. He says he's campaigning against political correctness and for the, in favour of free speech. And when Lawrence Fox means free speech, what he means is being able to call members of the LGBTQ community paedophiles and not get sued. Because at the moment, he's getting sued by two prominent members of the LGBTQ community, including a vice chair of Stonewall, for having called them paedophiles in tweets. Yeah. By the way, I did see that Lawrence was actually basically in Mum's basement sorting out his election campaign material.
Yeah.
All right. It's because he used to be an actor, and that's from a scene, it was something he was in. But when I saw that, I just thought, oh, how fucking appropriate.
Yeah.
Because that's what he's fucking truly about. All this fucking, we're pro free speech. No, you're just pro fascist. That's what you fucking are. Yeah, and you call people, look, Lawrence, if you want to waffle on about whatever racist bullshit you want to, fine. But, mate, there are consequences, okay? And that's the problem you can't deal with. You can't deal with people challenging your bigoted bullshit. Funny, talking about Nigel Farage and Tommy Robinson and Lawrence Fox, well, I saw this. The number of white terrorism suspects being arrested in Britain has outstripped those of Asian appearance for the third year in a row. Official figure. You see, this is something. Now, obviously, The Independent is a mainstream news outlet, but it's not something you're going to hear reported on ITV or BBC News.
Yeah, well, definitely not BBC.
And also, I'd add, I would imagine you already know this, but the FBI have been saying for several years now that the biggest threat, the biggest domestic terrorist threat in the United States is from right-wing militias.
Yeah.
Official figures show that 89 white people were arrested on suspicion of terror offences in 2020, compared with 63 Asian suspects, 15 black suspects, and 18 of other ethnicities. The proportion of white people arrested exceeded the proportion of Asian people arrested for the third consecutive year, a Home Office document said. Arrests of previous white ethnic appearance account for 48% of arrests, up 7 percentage points, and that will go higher. Let me explain why. When there are economic woes, far-right terrorism tends to increase. Sadly.
Economic what?
When there are economic woes, bad times.
Economic woes.
Well, yeah, because
I was just trying to figure out what you meant. Yeah.
Well, you get the likes of Nigel Farage and Tommy Robinson and Lawrence Fox. I mean, there's this term called stochastic terrorism, which Nigel Farage uses quite well, which is basically, he doesn't say outrightly, go attack a mosque or people of brown skin, but he implies it. I mean, I was looking this up earlier. Of course, Tommy Robinson was cited as inspiring Darren Osborne, who was the Finsbury Park mosque attacker. If anyone remembers, Darren Osborne was that fucking bigoted gammon terrorist piece of shit who drove all the way from, I think it was Swansea, to Finsbury Park in London, and drove his van into a crowd of worshippers at Finsbury Park Mosque.
Oh.
Yeah. And he has said that Tommy Robinson inspired him. Yeah. I hate to say this. This might actually get worse, unfortunately.
Oh God.
Now, talking of gammon, so we have to talk about Claire Fox briefly because, well, she's annoying. So, for those who don't know, Claire Fox used to be a Marxist. She still claims to have been a Marxist. I mean, she was a member of the Revolutionary Communist Party back in the 80s, right? Very left-wing firebrand, okay? And over the years, she said a lot of stupid fucking things. Has always been a Eurosceptic. Ended up in the Brexit Party. Denied the Brexit Party was racist, despite all the racist shite which Nigel Farage has a record of spouting.
Yeah, well, I mean, especially because there isn't like a reason for Brexit outside of racism.
Well, there are some left-wing arguments against the EU, but I've heard none from fucking Claire Fox. She just whines on about Brexit being the best for this country. I've never heard her in great detail criticise the EU from a left-wing point of view. About how possibly it encourages neoliberal capitalism. In other words, all the institutions that the EU sets up basically just make it easier to do business, shall we say. I know what the left-wing arguments are, but as I say, I've never heard any from her. But what I have heard from her over the years is her defence of the Warrington bombing, the IRA bombing in 1993. And she's been now. So she used to be a Marxist. Now she's Baroness Gammon of Brexit, though her actual title is something linked to Warrington. And of course, people aren't happy about the fact that, considering she defended the Warrington bombing. She's been given a title which is linked to the town of Warrington. So, yeah, I can understand that.
I just need to know. So you have a new plan. So, find a way to get marked as a lady by the Queen, and then get every royal family person stepped down or arrested, and then until I can become until I am the monarchy.
Well, yeah, I should. Of course, you don't know what the House of Lords might be. The House of Lords is essentially the equivalent to the Senate, except the people in the chamber are appointed, not elected.
Yeah.
I've always believed in the abolishment of the monarchy and the House of Lords because they're not directly accountable to the British electorate. So
yeah.
But anyways, the fact that she accepted a period tells me she's no longer a fucking Marxist. I mean, a lot of people have disowned her. A lot of people on the left have disowned her for many years. I mean, some of the shit she has said, she defended the Warrington IRA Warrington bombing, and sure, I support United Ireland, but I don't support it by, I support it by the ballot box, not by the bomb. Right? I understand the anger of many Catholics, but violence never solves anything. It just kills innocent people.
Well, yeah, I mean,
but that wasn't just it.
For some things, but
she actually defended the Serbians' ethnic cleansing. In the Balkans.
That's bad.
And said that the BBC were over exaggerating things back in the day.
No, ethnic cleansing bad.
Yeah, and well, that's not just it. Here's something else she said.
I wouldn't ban child porn from the internet. Oh, God.
Yeah. Now, let me explain this. There are some lefties who make this argument, right, that the possession of child porn should not be a criminal offence because nobody was involved in the creation of child porn. So I got that wrong. Nobody. Right. Okay. Let me start again. People on the left, some lefty intellectuals, and some libertarians as well, I'd add, have made this argument that the creation of child porn should be illegal, right? Because children are being forced to do sexual acts and blah blah blah. But the possession of child porn shouldn't be, because that is in itself hasn't actually forced children into child pornography. Well, that's bullshit, because the possession of child porn perpetuates the demand for child porn. Okay, and both. No, I'm not gonna. I'm no sorry. I'm not gonna debate this. Okay, I've seen the consequences.
Well, I wasn't sorry. I wasn't trying to. I wanted to add to that. Like, one of the things. The thing I'm generally more concerned about is the fact that this sort of thing is a factor in grooming as well. Grooming children. And I've seen the consequences of I spent some time in care when I was growing up, and I saw the consequences of child abuse, child sexual abuse, and it's not pretty, and I don't want any child to have to go through that, or or create or have any kind of demand for it. So now, of course, the other argument I hear from libertarians and some lefties is, well, what if the child porn was animated? Still creates the demand, because there will be people who'll say, oh, this synthetic stuff isn't good enough, I want the real stuff. So well, it gets that sort of thing gets really complicated.
Well, I'm just not prepared to. I mean, the trouble is, I think some lefty intellectuals, just up their own arsehole and don't realise,
I mean, for similar reasons, animated porn is bad. The only circumstance in which any aspect of thing could possibly be consensual is if it can be used in if there's like there's some therapy studies to essentially reduce child rape and teach people.
No, I'm just not prepared. Sorry, Alex, I'm just not prepared to entertain any of it. All right, I'm just not.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely fair, because it shouldn't be on the internet. Regardless, none of this should be on the internet at all. Flat out.
Exactly. So, I mean, the thing is with a lot of lefty intellectuals is sometimes, as I say, they're just about their own arsehole. I remember recently I had a debate with somebody about Mossad having lifted Adolf Eichmann. And I sort of went on about, oh, it wasn't legal and whatever else. And I go, hey, he was a war criminal. He was the architect of the fucking final solution, okay? He's responsible for the murder of 6 million fucking Jews. As far as I'm concerned, it was perfectly fucking just to lift him from Argentina and put him on trial in Jerusalem. And I'd also add, I'm not in favour of the death penalty, but am I mourning the fact that that he was hung? No.
Yeah.
You got to realise sometimes, when I see like Adolf Eichmann, I have white hot rage, okay, for what he did. Anyways, so yeah, I mean this explains Claire Fox spent the 90s publishing articles which apologised for downplayed and outright denied the genocide of Bosnian Muslims in the former Yugoslavia. She's not fit. Well, this was taken when she was running to be an MEP. Tweeted. Yeah, as far as I'm concerned. She also, some trans activists have said that she's got a bit of a turfy part, said some turfy stuff in the past. I haven't seen anything she said, but it wouldn't surprise me. It just wouldn't.
Well, I mean
because she's like really pro. She's really pro free speech, so it wouldn't. Yet again, one of those fascists who's very pro free speech. Here's the thing about fascists and pro free speech, right? They're pro free speech when they're not in power, but once they're in power, they won't be pro free speech. I can tell you that.
Well, I mean, Parler banned lefties, so They don't actually care about free speech. They just want their own platform to spread their conservative ideology.
Right. Right. Yes. Now, basically, this is an article from Pink News, sort of debating whether the term TERF is an insult. The term was coined in 2008 by an activist and writer, Viv Smythe, in her own words, describe what she saw as a trans-hostile movement that was gaining strength in the British media. I've always had, look, as far as I'm concerned, the term TERF is not a slur, it's a perfect description. Trans, extremely radical feminists. It's usually those people who use feminism as a front to be bigoted towards trans people. So I can't.
That's why it's hard for me to put that over fart. The feminist appropriating radical transphobe or whatever.
Well, but the problem I always have with TERF, and this is something Owen Jones said, the trouble with the term TERF is that it gives us sort of like people who are ostensibly transphobic bigots a special sort of classification, and transphobic bigots don't deserve a specialist classification.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it doesn't help that these people are extremely obsessed with being anti-trans.
Yeah.
Like that, our existence, I was going to say mine, your existence, our existence in general is something abhorrent to them, and they care the most about eradicating.
Yeah. Harry Potter author J.K. Rowling was described as a TERF by critics on Twitter after tweeting her support for Maya Forstater in December 2019. Yeah, and let me tell you something. There was a lot of bullshit about how Maya Forstater was sacked. No, she wasn't. Her contract with the company she was working for wasn't renewed. And she was working for an equalities advocacy charity, if I remember rightly. And kind of doesn't look good to have a fucking TERF.
It's not that it's not just that. Sorry, that's a factor, but also she harassed a trans coworker.
Well, that doesn't surprise me. I mean, she's a TERF. That's what TERFs do.
At least that's my recollection of it.
Well, yeah. I'm trying to remember my recollection of it. I just remember that, they were saying she was fired when in fact actually that was incorrect. I do remember something about a co-worker. And, if you're going to harass other co-workers, about what they are, that's bigotry. You should be sacked, okay? That's against equality employment law, I think, as well. So J.K. Rowling, of course, waded into that. Well, talking of J.K. Rowling, oh dear. A Harry Potter video game may allow trans characters in despite of J.K. Rowling's views. The thing is, and I'm going to say this, it's not actually been confirmed whether this game, Hogwarts Legacy, I think it's called. Yeah, it is. It's called Hogwarts Legacy. It says there. It's not actually been confirmed, but the developers have been putting it about that it might, right? And the reason they're doing it is because they're cashing in on, all the publicity there is for, J.K. Rowling being a transphobic gobshite.
Yeah, they want to actually make money off of J.K. Rowling, and they're like, well, after the shit that she spewed, we're going to need to do something.
Yeah. Sorry to be cynical about this, but that's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah.
I mean, look, if the game does have trans characters in it, good. But I would imagine that J.K. Rowling has final say on stuff, right? Considering that she's the owner of the intellectual property. So I'm doubtful that this will actually happen. Sorry, I'm just damn. I just think this is a load of hot air as a means of pimping up the game. That's it. I'm going to be cynical about it, but that's what I am. Great. So, Dr. Iggy Moon is a chartered psychologist whose work focuses on psychotherapy, gender, sexuality, and emotion. They are also the chair of the Coalition for Memorandum
of Understanding. MOU.
Against conversion therapy, which includes 17 major therapy organisations such as British Psychiatric Psychology. I think that's the BPS. I think that stands for British Psychology Society. UKCP, I don't know who they are. GPs, the NHS, of course I know what they are. England and the NHS. I also think the Royal College of Psychiatrists also oppose conversion therapy, and is pushing for a ban on conversion therapy in the UK. Moon told Pink News why a ban on conversion therapy in the UK is vital, and why all healthcare providers must come together again and fight to stop any of our community being told they need to be cured. Absolutely. Are you a white cis gay man in your mid-60s living in London? Then you may have been given conversion therapy against your wishes simply because you needed to be cured. Are you a black British transgender woman aged 18 to 24 years old living in London, or in Asian British cis gay men around the age of 16 to 17 years old living in Northern Ireland? Then you are likely to be offered conversion therapy right now in the UK. as a way of particularly in Northern Ireland, because their community, the various communities in Northern Ireland are very entrenched in Christian dogma. You know, I mean, if there's one place in the UK which is sort of reminiscent of some places in the United States when it comes to the Christian bigotry bullshit, it is Northern Ireland, unfortunately. I mean, don't get me wrong, I've been to Northern Ireland and I've had a great time, you know, because believe me, you know, whether you're from the south of Ireland or the North Ireland, they know how to drink. As a way of dealing, and that's not a stereotype of the Irish before anyone complains. No, I'm just saying, you know, you go to places like Derry. This is...
Sorry, I have written up Ireland while you have been speaking to make a statement about...
Well, no, but I mean, for instance, in Derry, you can, when I was there, you could basically carry your beer from one bar to another, right? That's illegal here. You're not allowed to do that, right? But in Derry, you're allowed to, and as far as I'm concerned, that's a good idea. You know, as I said, they know how to have a good time, and you know that's no bad thing. So you know, drop it with the accusations that I'm making out of all Irish or alcoholics, because I'm not. I just know that this is the kind of shit people throw at you, isn't it? It's really ridiculous. As a way of dealing with this, you may want to talk through. Basically, people are being offered conversion therapy when they shouldn't, and one of the reasons why is because this government is still dragging its feet, right, about making it illegal,
which is fucking bullshit. It's a simple thing. Be like, yeah, conversion therapy is tortured. Fuck it. It needs to go away.
Well, I mean, first there was no legislative time in Parliament because of, you know, Brexit. Okay, fine. I'll admit that was a bit of an issue. And then we're told, because of COVID. Next, we're going to be told that there's some imaginary fucking asteroid heading towards us, and this is why they can do it. You know.
Look, imaginary asteroids are the most dangerous asteroids.
You know,
although we can protect Earth with our imaginary Jewish space lasers.
Well, yeah, but here's the thing, right? I'm trying to, as I've said before, right? One reason this government hasn't done it is if you look at well, I mean, Tim Farron is not a Tory MP, but he got 75 grand from an evangelical Christian organisation, which backs conversion therapy. Right now, he's a liberal. He's a fucking Liberal Democrat. Gets 75 grand. The Liberal Democrat. No. So you know there probably are Tory backbenchers getting double that from various Christian dodgy organisations to oppose. Making conversion therapy illegal. And thus, Boris is probably scared that he would have to confront his backbenchers. Despite the fact that I think there is a good number of Tory MPs who have basically said, can we get on with this and get it banned? Because it is wrong. Yeah. It is. You know, you can't help being trans. Wrong. You can't help being gay. You can't help being a lesbian. You can't help being bi or queer. You know, why is it such a fucking issue? I just don't know. You know, just get it done.
Yeah, there's just so many problems, and it's a lot of people wanting to control your lives and wanting to find every reason which they can to make an attempt to eradicate anyone they see as a problem, and they see everyone on the everyone who happened to be born LGBTQ as a problem.
Yeah. Right. Oh, here's a surprise. Not. Pence will address an anti-LGBTQ group in his first speech since leaving office. Why doesn't LGBTQ Nation just say Pence will address anti-LGBTQ group in his first speech since leaving office, and the sky is blue and water is wet? Because it's kind of like, of course he's going to, isn't he?
And Pence still looks like, even though I'm pretty sure he's not technically a Nazi, Pence still looks like one from Indiana Jones.
Yeah, he's going to be addressing the Heritage Foundation, and we all know who gets financial backing from the Heritage Foundation indirectly, don't we?
A lot of people. Too many people.
Well, no, there's one particular trans person.
Oh, Blair White.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, she does. Yeah. She's a puppet of the Koch brothers, essentially, because it's the Koch brothers who bankroll the Heritage Foundation. Yeah, well, I mean, look, am I surprised? No, not really. Whoopee. Not. I mean, particularly and I always will keep on bringing this story up. So, Mike Pence's wife, essentially...
Okay, wait. Can I stop you there, because I had not read Mike Pence's wife's name before? She is a Karen. In every sense, it seems. Okay, sorry. Go on.
Yeah. Kind of an appropriate name for her, isn't it? Wasn't she anti-mask as well, if I remember rightly?
I mean, that wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, well, then her name was more than appropriate. Karen Pence's school took $725,000 basically she siphoned off bailout funds, which were meant to be for small businesses, so they can pay to help her school, which brainwashes kids into anti-LGBT bullshit. That's about the size of it, folks. Yeah, that's fucking corruption there.
Yeah.
And if that wasn't, worrying enough, so there are currently 108 bills targeting LGBTQ plus people in the United States.
Did they try to go for 108 different bills for good luck or something?
Essentially, this is a state. Obviously state level legislators, and it's basically we all know this. It's basically a reaction to Biden being in the White House and being pro LGBTQ.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the backlash, folks. And I knew that's right. But the thing is, people, I mean, there's already, in Mississippi, there's already a bill being signed by the governor which bans trans athletes from competing in sports in that state. And, the truth is that there are going to be people who are going to be persecuted. Yeah?
Yeah.
And, have their lives, affected detrimentally,
Yeah.
Basically, the Republicans are going to end up with more blood on their hands. More dead. More blood on the hands of dead fucking LGBTQ people, particularly trans people.
Well, yeah, and I mean that's the part of the reason they can do that is, and not feel any guilt. Or one of the things that helps is obviously they can always blame the murder, even if they make it easy for trans people to be murdered. They can just blame the murderer, so they don't really care. About life.
I mean, no, if the Republicans want to oppose Biden or something, oppose him bombing Syria, okay?
Yeah,
I think you'd find there's public support for that one. But stop fucking
fight against the ICE more. A lot more.
Stop persecuting, LGBTQ people because you lost the fucking election.
Yeah.
It really what it is, you know, we lost the election, so I've got to go beat up some gay and lesbian and trans people. That's what it really amounts to, isn't it?
Yeah.
And talking of trans people being murdered, you know, this is the latest victim. A trans woman who was killed and left in the woods has been remembered as a beautiful soul by loved ones, but persistently misgendered by the police and the media. Yeah, well, that fucking surprised me. You know, all cops are bastards as far as I'm concerned, and the mainstream media is transphobic as fuck. Jenna Franks, 34, was found dead on the 24th of February in a wooded area near a bike trail in Jacksonville, North Carolina.
North Carolina. That's the state where two cis women allegedly raped a trans woman.
Yeah, and it's also the state which brought in that the repugnant bathroom law rule thingy.
Wow, fucking hell, North Carolina sucks. No wonder Rhett and Link moved out of there to California.
Her death marks...
Rhett and Link, by the way, seem to be pretty cool from everything I've seen them do.
Her death marks at least the 10th known violent death of a transgender or non-binary person in the US this year. It's only March.
Yeah, well, I mean, it never stopped being March.
I mean, I know some people go, it's far worse for people, for trans people in Brazil. Yeah, I know, but I would say that Brazil still has some economic issues, which are a factor there. You know,
yeah, but,
I hate to say it, but poverty does breed crime, unfortunately.
Yeah, but I mean, also some of the things that help is the United States showing some solidarity to LGBTQ rights, like getting a pride flag in embassies is like a big
yeah
deal.
I'm not look, thumbs up to Biden for what he's trying to do. I don't deny I applaud him for doing that, right? But what I am saying,
Biden's got plenty of other problems. It's just one thing that he has been decently good at.
Well, yeah, but obviously at a state level, it's still an issue. Now, one thing is, I am pretty confident that if I walk out of my flat, my apartment, right? I'm not going to, and go to the supermarket and do a bit of shopping wherever else. They're going to get home safely, okay? But I know for people such as yourself and other people, trans people in the United States, you don't have that security.
Minnesota is one of the better states. So,
yeah, it's one of the better states, but I know another trans woman who lives in the same city as you, and she walks around with, armed, and she doesn't like having to do so.
Yeah, and it's because I.
Well, look at poor old Aria. You know, she lives in New Hampshire, which is one of the safest states to live in the United States, and she ended up during the campaign for sheriff, because of all the death and threats of violence she was getting, having to open carry.
Yeah, and yeah, I wouldn't run for sheriff until I got some bulletproof armor. Right.
Anyways, I don't want to leave us on a downer.
Yeah.
I saw this in Sydney, Australia. It's just unveiled a 90-foot long rainbow path. in one of its best loved green spaces you'd find in Prince Alfred Park in Surrey Hills. I've never been to Sydney, so I don't know where that is, but I love it. I absolutely love it.
That's so pretty.
Yeah, there's a video actually. Hold on.
We need to fucking have a rainbow bridges in Minnesota.
Yeah. So, yeah, it just looks beautiful. I can't understand how anyone would object to that. Yeah, I love that. You see, here's the thing. You know, LGBTQ people, we want to celebrate our love for each other, for being ourselves. Be ourselves and love each other for love others for being themselves. That's what we're about, right? We're about love. Okay? That's what we are ostensibly about, right? And yet we're hated so much for it.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, well, I mean, the weirdest part is that it's by Christians, given Jesus's background of, not killing prostitutes and not being Jesus was not 100% against sex work.
No, Mary Magdalene was a prostitute, wasn't she?
Yeah, but I mean, also, like, there's so many tenets there about love, and I don't understand how. I mean, similarly, Jesus was just continuing aspects of the Torah and Talmud. So, like, and there are aspects of hospitality and stuff like that, which are, incredibly important. And it's just, they're so not followed, and people are like, the level of fucking egotism to be like, I understand everything and I know how you should live or whatnot, is so, like, the only person in religion who's supposed to be omniscient omniscient is God. So, people can be wrong.
Right. Well, thank you for joining us again, Ozma. It's much appreciated.
Yeah, thank you for having me on.
Well, I should be back tomorrow. I might have a guest. I'm still sorting that out. But in the meantime, if you like this video, well, give it a like. Please share it, with your friends on social media. If you've got any feedback, then leave a comment below. And most important of all, please subscribe. It's really important. I should state here and now a thank you to those people who have recently followed. I did notice that subscribe.
Yeah, no, things have been getting better for you, it looks like.
Yeah. Anyways, as I said, I will be back tomorrow. In the meantime, take care of yourselves, stay safe, and peace out.